Okay, let's get going. All right, everybody, I'm incredibly excited, and welcome to a brand new episode of Spiritual Asshole. I'm joined by Derrick Grant. He's a former pro athlete, TEDx speaker, and CEO of DJ Mindset. Derrick, how are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
I'm so excited you're here. So, you were a Harlem Globetrotter. Do you think that you have such a good mindset because you beat the Washington Generals 27,000 times?
You know what? I tell people I have a great mindset because a lot of people don't realize I played for the Washington Generals for a year before I got on the Globetrotters.
No.
Yes. So that's really where the mindset comes in.
So, you just got beat for a year straight?
I was a loser for a whole year out of my life. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so good. I have to say, I am fascinated. I love sports, and I'm fascinated mostly because I feel like it's such a good now representation of someone's mentality. How have
Sure.
you been able to, how has that been like an easy transition for you? Because it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm not in the sports world as much. So I'm in more in business. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, business is just like sports and sports is just like business. So I'm able to take these transferable attributes that I used in sports and I can use them in business as well. So yeah, there's definitely parallels for sure.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, if the thoughts in your mind were a song, what would it be?
Oh man, depends on what day.
I'll go first. I'll say mine is 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
Honestly, mine wouldn't have any words. Mine would just be like probably like a piano playing softly in the background. Real zen like.
Very zen. Yeah, all your videos are super zen. But I did watch a video of a podcast you did where you're like, if people heard my thoughts, they would think I'm insane. So I am actually kind of really curious. What are your thoughts like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I'm a I'm naturally inquisitive, right? I'm a Sagittarius, so
Nice.
like I want to know why. So like my thoughts, for example, if a thought comes in, I'll write it down. Most recent one I wrote down on Sunday was, how does light crystallize into matter to form matter?
Mm,
Like I'm probably a little deeper than most, but like I want to know, like, how is this particle of light? How is it crystallizing into matter to form this bottle right here? So
yeah.
yeah,
I have to say though, like what I love about your videos so much is you are such a deep thinker, but I feel like you don't the danger I run in sometimes is the other side of the deep thinking is too much thinking and too
sure.
much. Does that ever happen to you?
No, not really.
No, I'm perfect. No, my life is awesome. It's super easy.
Yeah, no, I try to make things practical. Like I always tell people, it's like if you have all this spiritual understanding, this metaphysics and esotericism, like what good is it if you can't fucking figure out life, right?
Right.
So the way I am, I want to take all of this information and be able to figure out like how can I be a good husband and a good father and figure out how to run a business, like make it practical,
Yes.
make it simple. So
So how do yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I feel like I have so much knowledge for the last 8 years and now I'm like, it's time to actually put this into practice. Like I've
yeah,
been saying, like, when does the help and the self-help kick in? So how have you made how have you made that transition and like what are some practical things you've done?
honestly, Brendan, I this is probably gonna be a little disappointing, but I realize that everything that I do will be in direct correlation to my self worth.
Mm,
So, like, I realized probably like a year and a half ago, like, oh, wow, I can't outperform my self worth.
that's so good.
So, if I just
Shit.
increase my self worth, everything has to go up. So, I just started like this journey of like figuring out who I am. Why am I this way? Like, working on me, and then everything else has to move at the same rate. And that's really it. It's been really simple for me.
So do you work on yourself though, like a practical way, just by walking around being like, "Yo, I'm the shit"? Is that a way to do
That is a part of it. I do have to do that.
it? Like, what are some ways you do this?
Yeah, so like every morning I get up and journal, and I say journaling, it's just me writing down exactly how I'm feeling. What
Mm,
am I thinking? So that way I'm heightening my awareness at the beginning of the day. So if I'm feeling like, if I'm, let's just say I'm thinking about hot dogs, I'm aware that I'm thinking about hot dogs. So if for whatever reason later in the day I want a hot dog, I'll know, oh, it's because I was thinking about it earlier instead of being like, oh, well, I'm hungry, I'll get a hot dog. So yeah, that's meditation. I always take time to be quiet, be still. I take minimum 10, 15 minutes a day of just like pure silence, staring out a window, nothing. That's
mm.
been a game changer because you'll start to see that you have these thoughts that are playing in the background, but because life is happening, we don't hear or pay attention to the thoughts. If I can become more aware of them now when they come up in the hustle and bustle of life, I don't have to subscribe to them.
And what would you say to those people who feel like they're stuck in a thought loop? Not me, but it is me.
Understand that they are just thoughts. The thought isn't the problem. It's the thinking around the thought that causes the problem. So a thought will come in and say, oh man, I'm scared. What if this happens? That was just that thought. The problem is we'll start having ruminating thinking around it. Well, what if this happens? And what if that? And if I don't, it's like, yo, that's just the thought. Let it be, let it pass, and continue to move on.
Okay, I love that. So your videos have become super viral, and what I love about them, they're super simple. It's just you sitting on chairs and couches talking about your philosophy on life. Are these videos secretly one long commercial for IKEA furniture?
I wish they were. Give you a deal with IKEA. That'd be nice.
How did it happen? Because I feel like it's been a natural progression for you, and there's something so beautiful and simple about it.
Yeah. So I had an intern who was helping me, and then my videographer. We would meet once a week for an hour, and we still do. We meet once a week for an hour in the basement of this building that my office is at, and my intern would have questions. So I'm like, why don't you just start asking me questions? And told my videographer, Durango, hey, why don't you just go ahead and start filming it? So this is how it naturally started. And it went from having these full conversations and then cutting them to, hey, I got a question this week. I got a question. And then social media started to chime in. It's like, let's start asking the questions. Sorry, answering the questions that everybody keeps asking.
Yeah, and all the questions are, how can I be rich? It's like everybody's question.
You get a lot of those.
It's really funny. So when I'm watching your videos, I'm like, wait, do you feel like you're like channeling? Because it almost feels like you kind of are.
For sure. Half the time, I don't remember what I said.
Really?
Yeah, no. It's not really me. It's not me answering. My podcast is the same way. I don't write a script. I don't like have it planned out. I have a topic. And then I always say, I'm just pulling it down out of the ether. It's not me talking.
That is so dope. I really sense that with your videos, like the way you close your eyes and how focused you are. And you almost never have a verbal slip up, which is crazy. Because as somebody who has a podcast, I'm taking out 100 likes every episode. You know what I mean? So I'm watching these videos and I'm like, you could just see the flow. It's incredible, man.
Oh, no, thank you. I'd say probably the last 3 or 4 months that I realized that this was what was happening. This is the way I've always been, which is why I was a terrible public speaker when I would have a script that I had to write.
Yeah.
Or read off of. And now I realize I'm just literally just becoming a conduit. So consciousness, spirit, whatever, can just flow through me.
Right. And I think it's important to point out for people that everybody can do this. Don't you feel that way? It's not just you or me.
No, absolutely. We all have this ability, but a lot of times that would require us to surrender and get out of the way of consciously thinking. And that's scary to a lot of people.
That's terrifying. Yeah. Like you said, a lot of us, it's almost like the script metaphor you just used. We're doing that with everyday life where we're like, no, I have a script of how today's going to go and I have to follow this.
Right.
Even though all this messaging, positive messaging is still coming at you.
Yes. Yep.
So is mindset something that you really had to work on, or were you just a born natural Harlem Globetrotter?
I will tell you this. People always ask me, who's your teacher? Who's your coach? My mother, everything that I'm saying, my mother used to say this to me. She still does, but I didn't realize it was like, oh, okay, mom, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, knowing what I know now, I'm like, holy shit, she was telling me this when I was young.
That's so helpful.
I've always had this mindset. It just wasn't a thing that I called mindset. It was just, no, I thought this is how everybody is. I thought this is how everybody thinks. But now I'm saying that I was fortunate enough that my mom, and my father, they had different mindsets. Do you
think then if you didn't get that messaging, let's say you got some really negative messaging from your parents, it's much harder to change your mindset than your?
For sure.
Yeah. So then can we just all have your brain?
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get everything in here. I'm trying to put it out here. But that's essentially what we have to do is go back and unlearn what we've learned. And a lot of what I'm learning with a lot of people, there's a lot of bullshit that we have. We just, because our parents didn't know any better, because their parents didn't know any better. And now here it is generationally, we're carrying the same toxic energy of 3, 4, 5 generations ago.
Yeah, and I can speak for myself and say like one of the frustrating things is like when I watch your videos, I feel like I'm there a lot, but sometimes I'm not, but I'm mad that I'm not. And I have to realize like we're not all coming from the same place, like we're all on a different journey.
Yeah, like me where I am today is just a series of causes and effects that happened in the quote unquote past. And we all have different sequences that have different causes and have different effects. So I know for the longest for me, I had to give myself space for grace because I look at certain athletes like, dang, look at his mindset, look how
Yeah.
he is. But he had a completely different path that he came through that shaped his mindset. So I say to people, like, it's just really important to understand that you are literally in your own universe, meaning there's only one, and you should not you shouldn't compare it to anybody.
Yeah, but I still want to be rich.
We all do, right?
So you're really big on healing the past, which I love. Can you talk about how we can actually do this?
Yeah. So there's three things that we have to do minimum, bare minimum. We have to first become aware of our past. What are our traumas? What are our programs? Meaning, like, dang, I didn't even realize that mom was always constantly saying, nope, we can't do that. It costs too much. Nope, we can't do that. Well, now here I am, 40 years old, and I look at someone and say, oh, no, I can't do that. That costs too much. That's poverty consciousness. All the money you'll ever make is already out there.
Mm.
So becoming aware of these programs, but then number two, acknowledging, like, this was my upbringing. Was it what I wanted? No, but here's the reality of it. Here's what it is. And now once you've done that, you can move to step three, which is acceptance, meaning this is what it is. These were the cards that I was dealt. Now that I've acknowledged them, I can start to rectify it and go back and reconcile these parts of myself.
Love it. Do you do like energy healing or any of that kind of stuff too?
I don't. That's not really my strong suit.
How many crystals do you have in your Globetrotter uniform?
I'm not a big. I do have crystals,
Oh,
but
sweet.
I've always tried to like. I try to be practical. And it's not that that's not practical. My
You can
mom
say it's
always
not
raised,
practical. You
my
can
mom
say
always
it.
raised me like, don't depend on anything outside of yourself.
Oh my God, that's like the best lesson you could tell anyone.
So like crystals are great, but I also don't want to depend on a crystal, right? Meditation is great, but I also don't want to depend on that thing that will help me. Like it's just supplementary.
Mm.
So that's how I view everything. Um,
But what about God or the universe or whatever you believe in, depending on that? How about that relationship?
so if you allow me to go deep, I will.
Please
But
go deep forever. Yeah, bro.
okay, so here's my relationship with God. It went from thinking God was this man on a cloud with a white beard reaching down, touching Adam's finger, to realizing that this universal life force that is emanating through everything. I am it in this form. So I don't view it as separation anymore. It's almost like if I have my finger right here, my finger looks like, oh, well, that's just your finger. No, my finger is actually connected to the hand, which is connected to the arm, which is connected to it is the whole thing.
Mm.
So that's like we're all just on a journey to remember this, that we were not separate from this thing. We
Yeah.
were it. It is us.
I was just raised a certain kind of Christian where it was like, well, you need to accept Jesus, this figure outside of you. And if you don't, then there's just this nice place called hell. So that is what I meant about relying on something outside. Even that, even not to disrespect it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, even that idea.
Sure. That's how I was raised. I had a retreat this 2 weeks ago, and there's a lady there, and she had no idea. She's like, I don't know. My friend told me to come. Here I am. And I started to break down to her, like, the Bible was telling you all of this, but you had to understand it esoterically.
Yeah.
But the problem is, in the Western world, we get taught it exoterically. So now we really worship a 2,000-year-old man or figure that had passed away or died on a cross, not realizing that this story and this thing called God was actually just metaphors representing your state of consciousness, your state of mind.
Mm.
So now it's not outside of you. So now when I read the Bible, it hits differently because I know how it pertains to me.
Can you just take over Christianity? Is that possible?
Dude, you know what? They might burn me at the cross if I did that, man. It's
That's
It's
so
troubling when you find out really what it was telling you, because it's like basically everything that I was taught was a lie.
yes. It's very disempowering, and that's why I left the Christian church, because I felt like I didn't have any problem with the ethos, and there's a lot of good in it, but I felt like it was always, well, literally Catholic Church starts with people pounding their chest saying my faults, my faults, my faults. And I'm
Right.
like, that's a fun time.
Right.
What a good time.
Yeah, it's. I was just talking to somebody earlier this week and explained to them what heaven was, because they was like, "Oh, well, when I get to heaven," I'm like, if you look at Luke 17:21, the Pharisees came to Jesus and they said, "Where is this place, heaven, that you speak of?" And he said, "Do not believe the one who says it's over here. Do not believe the one who says it's over there. For the kingdom of heaven is in your midst. It's here.
Mm.
It's here right now." And then he goes on to say, the greatest in heaven are the children, not children in age. The child, the real part of you, it existed only in the present moment. That is what we were all seeking. It was presence. It was us being here and being now. So I tell people all the time, like we got duped into thinking that heaven was a place that we had to get to and hell was another place. But most of us are living in hell because we're never present.
100%. I think that your own mind can be your hell, your own
For
prison,
sure.
for sure.
For sure.
So you said another great thing that I love. You said that failure is the incomplete picture, but don't we already know enough about the Cleveland Browns to call them a failure?
Eventually, at some point, they will get together.
I don't
They're
think
going
so.
to figure it out. If you just look at how we learn how to walk, you learn how to walk by falling. Think about it. A child keeps falling and falling and falling, and that's how they learn how to gain balance. The same goes for life. Every time that I quote unquote failed and I got back up again and tried, that was when I quote unquote succeeded.
Mm.
So really, we learn through failures because that's what this universe was. It was just essentially a place for our souls to learn, but you can only learn through this thing that we call failure. Failure is what's teaching you, but instead of failure, I never look at it as something as failure. It's just a lesson. I just learned. That's all I'm doing. I'm just learning.
So what, yeah, like for example, today I got a job rejection, but what I think is tripping us up is the perception of the rejection, right? That's what's tripping us all up. It's the perception of it.
So I always ask myself two questions. If I could go back, what would I do differently, knowing what I know now? Number one. And then number two, what is this teaching me about myself? Wow, I didn't realize how much my self-worth was rooted in me getting this job.
Yes.
Or I would I would probably wouldn't have said this, or maybe I would have said it this way. I've learned from this experience. I can take that knowledge, and then guess what? The way this universe works, I'm going to get another opportunity at some point to apply those lessons. And then when I do it, that's what we call success or winning. I applied the lessons that I learned.
So is that how you deal with quote rejection? That's what you do?
That's it. That's exactly what I do. It's like, oh, well, I know not to do that again.
Oh my God, that's awesome. So do you think what's really tripping us up is oftentimes we just kind of talked about this, but we do see things as quote good or bad. Do you still have some of that in you?
That's exactly what the problem is. Good or bad. I don't view anything as good or bad, so which sometimes can come across as I'm heartless or I'm cold. Somebody say, "Oh my gosh, look, that was terrible that happened." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It wasn't. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good." Well, what are you talking about? Well, I can show you how it's good and I can show you how it's bad. It's just the perspective. So when you know that, this is the power that we have as human beings. I can literally experience anything however I choose to experience it. And that's power.
So you think like pivoting to always seeing how it's a lesson is the way out of that?
For sure. That's how we shift something from being bad to something being beneficial for our development and it being quote unquote good.
Love it. So you're constantly wearing shirts that say life is mental. Is that because you're trying to destroy your rival t-shirt company, Life is Good?
You know what? I was worried about that. Somebody would say, "Oh, that's copying off of it." But you know what though? It's crazy. Like when I fly in like a flight, usually the flight attendants, they're always like, "Life is mental." Huh. I never thought about it. I'm like, yeah. Like how many people don't realize life is not happening out here. It's happening inside of here. That's why you and I can read the same book and we'll read the same words, but we'll have two different experiences. You'll be like, "Oh, that book was terrible." And I'm like, "Well, I thought it was the best book ever." Why? because of our perception of those words that were shaped by our past experiences. So now, like, I know for me on my journey, when I realized this, oh my goodness, like, I am going to consciously choose how I perceive situations, which determines how I experience it. And how I experience it is what I call my reality. So I can literally create my reality however I want.
That's so good. So if life is all mental, why does it feel so good to be dumb?
Well, Brendan, I can't answer that.
I'm sorry, I'm so smart. That's fun. That's great. Yeah, I do want to say though, what would you say to those people that see you and think like Derrick has it all figured out? Is there anything that is going wrong in your life?
Well, wrong compared to what, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I know that I know nothing. I know I don't know. I know I don't know anything. Compared to what could be known, I don't know anything. So now I have the disposition, I have the perspective of I just want to learn. I just want to learn. And now my mind is always open to see everything from a new perspective.
Wow.
And now I'm in alignment with what we were actually here to do, which was to learn.
Because you're not putting up the walls of like, this is right or that's wrong.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's amazing. All right. So how often do you think you are being the guy that you are on social media?
Well, this is it's funny you say that because my buddy he told me, he's like, you may not realize it, but and people don't realize it, but this is literally who you are. Like, this is your being. This is you. So like, if we were to talk somewhere, say I saw you in Target somewhere, I would be saying and being the same thing. So like, there's been a transformation that's taken probably like 2.5, 3 years, that now like this is my way of being. So this is me 24/7, probably to the point where my wife gets tired of it. She's like, okay, all right, we don't have to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, you like sitting all your kids on the couch. You're like, come sit on the couch with me. Have some thoughts. You're like, come here. A long discussion.
Yes, but this is just how I am now. Yeah.
Okay, so you also said this interesting thing. You said that when you see opportunities, you don't see the opportunities, you see the energy of the opportunity. Like if it's something that you wanted to actually be doing by the energy, does this mean that you'll never go to Staten Island?
Dude, I love Staten Island, but I don't know if Staten Island resonates with me.
How about the energy of a place? Yeah.
Yeah. So I always look at like, does it resonate? Yes or no? If it doesn't resonate, then it won't work. And because energy never lies, right? So if I want something or I want to create something, my question is why? What energy are you looking to experience through you having this?
Okay, so that's how you see like if someone brought something to you, you would just be like, should I do this from an energetic perspective?
That's it. That's
okay.
It. Yep.
Okay, that's cool. So what do you think is the biggest misconception human beings have about themselves?
I would say they think that things on the outside are going to fulfill the parts on them on the inside. Like, if I have this, then I'll be happy. Or if I date her, then I'll be enough. Everything is just you. Everything.
Wow.
Everything is you. So the only reason why people want more money is because they think money is going to give them security. And they think security will give them peace. Well, peace is naturally what you already are. You were born peaceful. That's why we love babies. We love babies because they haven't developed this bullshit of these paradigms to make them think that everything is on the outside.
I love that.
So,
that makes that totally makes a lot of sense. So is it weird being a popular social media influencer who talks about manifestation and not having the word babe in your name?
Is that how I'm viewed? I didn't even realize that I was viewed that way.
No, I mean, you talk about manifestation too, which I think is good, but everybody, it's so funny because this industry is really dominated by females. I've talked to so many manifestation babes at this point.
It's like, I don't even like to use the word manifestation because it has such this, like, bro, can you manifest, man? Like,
yeah.
Like, no, you are manifesting every single thing in your life. Like,
thank you.
Everything, good and bad. So,
yes.
And here's the other thing they don't tell you. You will always manifest from the level of your healing. They don't tell you.
What does that mean? Please explain.
So like, the more I heal, meaning the more I go back in my childhood and reconcile this insecurity, these fears, these traumas, now I've increased my self-awareness, which has increased my self-worth. And what we, like I talked about earlier, you're never going to outperform your self-worth. So you can't manifest this dream job because you didn't even think you were worthy of the job to begin with. Mm. So when I go back and heal that child that felt unworthy of having this dream job, now all of a sudden it's like, man, I am worthy. I can do that because I went back and healed that child.
But what if your inner child is stubborn and still thinks he's going to be a point guard for the Chicago Bulls? I believed that till I was like 17. It was way too long. I had like colored braces. I'm super white. I'm like, I can't believe I thought I was going to play for the Bulls for that long.
The Bulls when they had Michael Jordan or the opposing?
No, Michael? Bulls with Michael Jordan. I was like, it's only a matter of time before it's me and MJ just passing back and forth. It's fine.
Oh, man. You know what? I don't know if there's any healing that can fix that. That's what we call delusion.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level. So you keep talking about this healing, though. Is there anything specific that you've done? You just go back and visualize the inner child? Like, is there anything specific that we can do?
Hold on real quick. I'm joining with my phone because my computer is about to die here.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right. Let me leave here.
Oh, that works. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
So say it again with the level of healing. Is that what
Yeah. So is there anything that, because you keep mentioning going back and healing your inner child, is there anything that we can specifically do to do that? Is it visualizing? Is it journaling? Like, what do we do?
So here's what I do. Say a situation will come up and I will feel the lower energies in my body, meaning I just have lower emotions. So I can't say no to him, right? I know I need to say no, but I can't tell him no. I will then go back, get a piece of paper and write why I can't say no, because I'm worried about what he's going to think. Okay, so now you're worried about what he's going to think. That means you actually want his approval. You're seeking validation. So I know that validation and that approval is going to be linked back to somewhere in my childhood. Well, who's the first person's validation I sought? My father. So if I never felt like I got my father's validation, now I'm looking through other people to validate me. Totally. So, but really, me seeking my father's validation was because I had not yet validated myself. So that's why I was saying it always comes back to you. If I validate myself, now I didn't need my father's validation. If I don't need my father's validation, I don't need this man's validation. And I can tell him, no, I'm not doing that. Yes. All because I validated myself.
Right. And then that's how you increased your self-worth.
There you go.
And now you're playing for the Bulls.
And now you're playing with the Bulls and you don't need the colored braces anymore.
So what do you say to those people, again, this is me, that have the same blocks come up over and over again?
That just means that it hasn't adequately been dealt with yet. So like, and here's the deal, like when you understand you are literally an infinite being, there's infinite layers of healing. There's infinite layers. I go back and deal with the 8-year-old me all the time. This 8-year-old who was never enough. He never felt like he was worthy enough. He always felt shame. He always felt guilt. I have to go back repeatedly and give him what he needs. That's what affirmations were. People don't realize like, oh, I am worthy, I am strong. No, you're supposed to be affirming the child in you who didn't feel like he was worthy, who didn't feel like he was strong. That's when affirmations are hit differently.
That's so good. So this is actually a great transition. You talk a lot about accepting, like acceptance and accepting what is, but what's the difference between acceptance and laziness, like a refusal to change?
So there is a fine line, right?
Yeah.
But I always look at the energy. Laziness doesn't make you feel good about yourself. Laziness, maybe temporarily it will. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like that's a lower energy. So I have to ask myself, am I being lazy or am I just accepting that this is what it is? If I feel down, I feel depressed, like this is a telltale sign that it's probably on the lazy side, and like I can shift my perspective to get the energies back up. And then it's my responsibility to take the next course of action. But I actually I had a call here with someone, and they were asking me the same thing. Like, I won't get up in the morning, and I know I have to get up, but it's because I go to bed late. Well, I go to bed late because I play video games all day, all night. Why are you playing video games all night? Because deep down inside, there's a little boy
Yeah.
who didn't feel worthy of all that you, as this man, wants to accomplish. So
Right.
what will he do? He's not going to do anything that's in line with that.
It's really explained so much of self-sabotage too. Like you could be given this amazing opportunity and all of a sudden you're 30 minutes late. And the truth is because you don't think you deserve it.
That's exactly it. That's
And
exactly.
that makes me sad though. How do we not like, cause I don't want to, I've been like on high self-sabotage alert. When I know I'm about to have a big thing that I think is big for me, I'm like, I'm on high alert. Like, how can we guard against that? Is there a way to guard against it?
Yeah, I see the way I work. I want to know why. Why? Because here's what I used to do. I would look at other people and be like, I know I can do that. I know I can do that.
Yeah.
How come I'm not doing that? And I started really like, I wrote down all of my fears. I wrote down all of my insecurities. And I could see that it was so rooted in, like, I always thought somebody else had to tell me I was enough, and then I would be enough. But it was because I never learned how to tell myself that I was enough. So when I realized this, oh my goodness, I won't do certain things that are in line with what I want to accomplish because this little boy doesn't think he's enough to
Mm.
accomplish that. So if I can fix the little boy, that was the only thing that was stopping me from doing this. So this is where I'm like, I stopped focusing on growing my business. I stopped focusing on trying to be a better husband, stopped focusing on trying to be a better father, and started focusing on healing these parts of me that were keeping me from being a better father, from being a better husband, from being a better businessman.
Mm. Do you have a time machine by chance?
I do.
It's called my brain.
That's people don't realize that we quantum time leap all the time.
Yeah,
All the time. Like I'm 40, but really like how I'm dealing with my 10-year-old's actions right now is usually the 10-year-old inside of me. And
that's cool.
that's what people don't realize. Like so now my 10-year-old is actually giving me, this universe is using him as this vessel to take me back to 10 years old that I was unconscious of. So I
That's
time
so
travel.
cool. I love it. I love time. So you talked about this a little bit. You were saying that we don't want money. We want the feelings that money brings.
Yeah.
But have you ever had a throwaway helicopter? It's awesome.
I have not. And if you have, please let me know how you obtained that. That
But there is a certain level of money is an interesting one because I do think it's obviously super objective, but when you really do dig underneath it, it is security. What do you think it is with our obsession with money? Like, do you think it's because it's gonna people think it's gonna bring them status, or what is it?
yeah, it's a program. It's a collective subconscious program that is so ingrained in us, we don't even realize it. We don't even so when you understand like the ego is rooted in enough, right? The ego is the one who doesn't feel like it's enough because it's competing against the spirit or consciousness that it knows it's enough. It's self-knowing. So what happens is with money, money's a number. And because money's a number, it's infinite. So you'll never have enough because it'll keep going. So if we ingrain the collective subconscious of thinking you need to have this thing is infinite. It keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. So we'll never have enough of it. And then if we condition you to think like, oh, when you get a certain amount, then you'll be happy.
Yeah.
And this is from what I see, my perspective, what's happened with money.
So when you get a job opportunity, how much do you care about the money? Or is this even a thing you think about? Or are you just mostly looking at like, is this going to be impactful?
The first thing is because the way I view money is a reflection of my self-worth.
Yes.
So as an entrepreneur, I remember people were like, you need to charge this much. And I'm like, I can't charge that much. That's because I didn't think I was worthy of that much.
Yeah.
So over time, as your worth goes up, then you charging more will start to go up as well. So now I look at money not as like, you need to pay me this. I look at money as a reflection of, wow, look how much you've grown in your self-worth to make for you to think you're worthy of this much as opposed to what you thought 2 years ago you were worthy of.
Right.
But there
And
are times,
yeah.
sorry, when I will do things that maybe aren't in line with financially what I would maybe think I'm worth, because I know like I'm creating an imbalance to help more people. That has to come back to me at some point because the universe has to balance itself out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of think the same thing applies for relationships too, or relationships with people. When you say I don't accept this, I don't see it as me criticizing someone. I see it as almost me talking to the universe, like, no, I'm saying I'm worth more than that. Do you ever? I assume that you do this.
Absolutely. I wanted to raise my speaking fee substantially. And then guess what? Somebody reaches out and said, hey, we would love for you to come speak. At that moment, I have a choice. I could charge what I always do, or I could say, like, no, this is my opportunity to up the energy, to up my self-worth. So I went ahead and said it. And guess what they said? They said no.
Wow.
And then that is the test from the universe to see, can you hold the vibration of the desired outcome? Do I say, hey, as a matter of fact, they even told me, hey, this is all our budget is. I could easily say, okay, I'll do that. No, because that's not in line with the future that I'm looking to live out.
This just happened with me with a hosting gig, and I quoted myself super high, and then they said no, and I was like, come back.
Yeah.
But the lesson you're saying is it's good that I held it, even though I didn't get it.
You got to hold the energy, because that is the currency of this universe. Think about it. I call it a vibe check. The universe is like, yo, you really think you're him? We're going to test you to see. And if you pass the test, now an opportunity will come, and it'll probably be more than what you were originally going to charge.
That's great. Okay, so just let me know when that opportunity comes. So last question, then I want to play a quick game with you. So this is a great last question. Someone asked you, or your intern asked you, who is the GOAT? Can you talk about your answer?
Yeah. The GOAT is me.
Mm.
I am the GOAT because I am the only thing that existed. Everything was just a reflection of my perception of it. So, like, this is why they call it a universe, not because there's one universe. It's because it was just you. It was you had your own universe. I had my own universe. He has his own universe. It looks like there's 8 billion people sharing the same reality, but we're not.
Mm.
And if people understood this, you had to be the GOAT because it was just you in your own universe. It was only you.
What do you say to people that think that ethos is selfish?
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we understand what selfish. So basically, I'm not supposed to believe in myself more than what you believe in me. I'm not supposed to, right? That's the way we've been conditioned. That's arrogant, that's cocky. Oh, okay, I see why this happened. Think about it like this, Brendan. You are everything that you believe you are, period.
Yeah.
Why would you not believe in yourself to the fullest if that's all you're going to be? You see, what better way to people dumb down than to develop these negative connotations of being selfish or being arrogant or being cocky? Just because I say I'm the GOAT, that doesn't make me any better than you. And that's the key. That's what humility is. Humility is recognizing I'm me and you're you. That doesn't make me better than you, but I believe in myself to the utmost because I know that it's just me in my own world.
And it's also really funny because often the people who call other people selfish, it's usually because they're not getting attention from that person. Yeah. So they're literally like, you're not doing this thing for me, therefore you are the selfish one.
Yep. Essentially what I hear is when people say that, I don't believe in myself to the level that you believe in yourself. And I cannot imagine myself believing in myself that much. So then it's a negative energy that's exchanged essentially, but they're really talking about themselves.
That's so good. All right. Well, I like to close by playing a game. It's called Spiritual or Asshole, where I say some things and you tell me if it's spiritual or asshole. Are you down?
I'm down.
All right. Spiritual or asshole, watching all of your videos on Instagram and then saying, wow, I need to sit on more couches.
Asshole.
Setting all of your videos on Instagram about eternity and your soul to the Harlem Globetrotters whistle.
spiritual.
I love it. Okay, getting tattoos of your deep spiritual journey. So you have a tattoo of a 6-inch Jimmy John sandwich, and then you have a tattoo of a foot-long Jimmy John sandwich. Hashtag growth.
That is hella spiritual, man.
Hello, spiritual. All right. Spiritual or asshole. Instead of shooting t-shirts out of cannons during timeouts for basketball games, we shoot positive affirmations at people that just say, nice haircut, bro.
That's spiritual right there.
Spiritual or asshole. Saying you're going to shoot for the moon, but you missed, and you're Elon Musk, so you're just going to buy the moon.
Asshole.
All right, last question I ask everybody. If you could tell people one thing to tell themselves all day long, what would it be?
It's always going to work itself out, even though I don't know how.
That's so good. And just so everyone knows, he took some time to think, so that has to be the right answer. This was the best, man. I had such a great time. Can you tell everybody where to find you?
Yeah, you go to dgmindset.com. You can find me on there, all social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, at DG Mindset. And yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, man. I've done a lot of podcast episodes, but this is at the top in terms of ones I've enjoyed the most. So,
oh, thank you so much.
I appreciate, man, what you're doing.
Yeah, I just signed up for your inner child course too, bro. So you'll be hearing from me.
Hey, at 5 o'clock. Man.
All right, can't wait. Well, thanks so much.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on, man.